Hi, welcome to Coffee Chats with Impact, the series that has real people having real conversations who are resilient and have overcome the odds to succeed. My name is Mannz Tofilau, and it's my heartfelt desire to have the real conversations that are going to uplift you, inspire you, and make you hungry to live a life you deserve. Today, it's my utmost pleasure to introduce Mannz Tofilau, and I'm going to grab my piece of paper here because he has so much stuff. I don't want to miss any of all of the goodness so that you can hear what this amazing man has achieved. So Mannz is an inspiring Pacific man who is breaking down barriers of how men should show up for themselves, for their families, and for their communities. He believes in staying in his own lane, getting out of your comfort zone, being consistent with everything that you do, have a daily personal ritual, surround yourself with the right people, and show up no matter what, and continue to work on your mindset. He really is creating an impact in the world and in his community by just showing up and being his true self. Through dance, music, and authentically sharing his life so that he may inspire others to believe in themselves. I love this. One of his favorite sayings is, God is a DJ, life is a dance floor, love is the rhythm, and you are the music. And I get goosebumps every time I read it. He has a thriving digital marketing business, an entrepreneur group called the Entrepreneurs. He's an accomplished educator, presenter. His most precious achievement to date is living life on his terms. Being the father that is at home to watch his daughter grow up, the husband who is in true partnership with his wife, and inspiring other men to believe that they can have it all, no matter what your past is, your education, your age, or what society says. Mannz shared with me, though, that his life has not always been one of joy and empowerment like it is now. In fact, a few short years ago, it was a completely different one. One of hanging out with the wrong crowds, armed robbery, bashing people, stealing cars, drinking and drugs. So, thank you so much for being here. First of all, I really want to honor your vulnerability to sharing not only some of that information with me, but with everybody that's watching today. And you know what, it takes real courage, especially for men, I find, to actually show that vulnerability side. So thank you so much. You know what, I see you daily breaking generational links for Pacific men in the arena right now. And I wanted to start with asking you a question. You know what, so many people never leave situations like you've been through. They don't really know any different to what they're doing day to day. The only examples that they have is the men that are already in their life. And so they just do what they've seen and don't know any different. So if one of those people were watching us right now, what would you say to them? Why do you think it's important to change the story and do something different than what our fathers, our uncles, our grandfathers did? What is your message to them right now?
Oh, awesome, Kim. Well, first of all, thank you so much for that intro. That was awesome, and I appreciate you for having me on board your interview chat. Yeah, it's pretty important, that question that you just asked, because to me personally, I think it's a good thing the way they brought us up, because everyone's themselves, you know what I mean? Like, we come in our own world to try suss out the lives ourselves. We were all brought up in different generations in life. So back then, when my father, to say my father is the one that really brought me up, you know, he was my role model as a man, as a male. When he brought me up, that's all I saw from him was hard work, you know, going to work, doing the 9 to 5, coming. He was on night shift, so I never saw him at night. I'll go to school during the day, so I hardly saw him until the weekend. And that's what I was brought up in, and that's all I knew. And that's all I thought was the only way in life. You know, we got to look for a job once you finish school, you know, get a good education and go look for a job or go to uni and so on and get a diploma or whatever it is that, you know, we decide to do. But yeah, if I was to speak to them, my old man's passed away a few years back now, but if I was to speak to him now about it, I think he would totally understand. They totally understand where I'm coming from and what I'm doing. And because things change in life, technology's a lot more, you know, around us than it was back then. But yeah, definitely he'll understand where I'm going with it. If I was to sit down with him right now and speak to him about it, he'll totally support me all the way with it, eh? But yeah, it's heaps powerful that we look outside what we were brought up in, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? If we were brought up in a world where 9 to 5 was the only way, I think we just gotta search more. We got more access to internet now than we were back then. I'm talking about back in the early 90s or late 90s, where I started my first job, and internet wasn't really booming, you know, at those times. So I was brought up in that era, you know, where where we had no choice. But yeah, whatever's in front of me, that's what I got to do.
The reason I'm laughing is I'm a fraction older than you, and the reason I'm laughing is because I didn't even have computers at school.
Yeah.
So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. We had computers, but they were the green and black ones, you know, and it was just for typing. Like, you know, that's what it is. They replaced them with typewriters. That was pretty much my era. But yeah, definitely. There's a lot more out there than what we are brought up to, you know, to see in life with our families. But as you know, as a Pacific Islander, we are limited to things that we try to do because our parents are also brought up in an old school way and more older than what we're brought up in. So in their way, with our cultures and all that, that's the only way to go. That's the only way we got to live life. That's how they're brought up. And, you know, unless you're that type of person that stands up to your parents and go, look, I think there's a better way, or you have a better communication with your parents, understanding and just explaining to them properly how it all works, you know how there is or can be a better way, then obviously they'll understand where you're coming from.
So I suppose what I'm hearing you saying is that you know, when we look at the description that we had in the beginning of what you were doing before with your life, and now you have moved on to, you know, being a more empowered life, and I'm gonna get into that shortly. But just before we move on to that, was there a line in the sand moment where you went, you know what, this drinking this and this and working this way wasn't for you anymore, that it was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I need to search and find something else? So you know, just so that our audience understands, I understand exactly what you're meaning from a cultural point of view. I may be a European, but I've been married in part of the Samoan community for the last 22 odd years, so I do understand the culture really well and what is expected. But even for myself, even though if I'm not from that nationality, when I decided to do something, there's always a line in the stand moment when we're in so much pain or in a life that's not giving us the desire that we want. So was there such a moment for you that you went, you know what, bugger this, I've got to change? Yeah,
definitely, Kim. Look, there was a couple of line in the sand moments for me, to be honest. We were talking about my bad life, going into getting out of that situation to like concentrating on my family. You know, I switched up and I went, like, that's enough of that kind of life. I want to make sure my family's done well. So then I worked my ass off, and I found a company that I worked for, and I built my way up as just a normal handler in a freight company, and I built my way up to second in charge, supervisor, senior supervisor, manager to operations manager, all in the same company. So I that's one of the line in the sand moments when I said, no, I think I can do something with myself. And I done it then, and I was with the company for like 11 years, and then I got offered another job for another company, and they offered me big bucks. I'm talking about almost $3,000 a week. So I left this company that was so loyal to me because I thought, no, I can do so much better for my family. You know, I was always looking for that opportunity to do better for my family, and so my family gets a better life. So I left that job and I went to this new job. It's for a Visi recycling company. And so they wanted a dispatch manager to come on board, and I went there and then I worked. The money was awesome. The money was so good, you know, like we were getting if I had spare money on the side at the end of the week, you know, I could invest in something if I wanted to. I could buy anything I wanted to. The only problem with that, the hours were so much longer. I was working more hours. I was working more days. I was working from Monday to Saturday, and then Sunday was my only day off. But by the time it came to Sunday, it was that time I wanted to spend with my family, but I was too buggered to do anything, eh? You know, so after a couple of years with that company, I just keep thinking to myself, now, what am I doing? You know, I'm concentrating more on the money and not spending time with my family. You've got to try draw that thin line between, you know, supplying for your family and also spending time with your family. So I learned that through that company, which again, I don't regret, because if I don't go through all that, I'll never know, right? So I left that job as a manager, and I wanted just to get a normal job. So I went and got another normal job as a forklift driver, just done the normal Monday to Friday, normal hours and all that. But then after being in this job for about a year, I got offered another manager job. And the only reason why I took it was my cousin was the one that asked me, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I'll look after you for now. But I said to him, to be honest, I'm not going to stay in the position. I wanted out of management. It's too much responsibility for me. I want to spend more time with my family, or else I'm going to be doing these long hours for this amount of money, and it's not worth it for me. So, yeah, I initially went to that job. It's the one that I'm at now, or to be honest, I left that job about 3 weeks ago. I'm now at home. Like, I've sorted out all my finances and all that. I'm now at home scheduling and working on myself and just working on my online stuff. So then I spend more time with family, and I'm also making some income at home. So yeah, that's pretty much the short story of it all.
So what I'm hearing here, and the lesson, I suppose, for people watching is that it doesn't really matter what your current lifestyle is. So you might be doing things that maybe not necessarily empowering you, like yourself, where you were, you know, involved in maybe with the wrong sort of people, but that at any time we can make a choice to do something different, and that by you following that choice and doing hard work, it got you to a certain level, and that you got a certain lifestyle. But then it got to a point where you decided, you realized that you were trading that lifestyle for this one, and maybe they still weren't really authentic, true to you. I suppose, I mean, you kind of answered something, but I did have a question, and I still maybe want to touch it just to see whether this question can help people in the aspect, you know, but in many cultures, there's a huge amount of pressure to get a good education, go to church, get a good job, one that's considered reputable, you know, like the type of jobs, and bring home the money. And you've already showed us that you were doing one style of lifestyle that wasn't maybe necessarily so good, and then, but it was the right thing for you, because as you just said, you wouldn't be the man you are today in front of us if you hadn't gone through that, and that's the one thing that's so super cool, is that all the things that we do that people might not think are great make us who we are. So we need to embrace those and stand full in our power and go, it doesn't matter, because this is where I'm going to. But you know what, people watching, what advice or decisions do you think that you could give other Pacific men who have that real stigma there, that I know that you said you can have a conversation, but sometimes those conversations aren't easy. So what sort of things do you think would support them to making that decision if their families weren't in support of them for it?
Mm. Yeah, see, that's a big one for me, because if I was in that position now with the knowledge that I have now, I would have left home,
Okay.
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If I got to the stage and I was at that age, and I was a Pacific Islander that's at their early ages in life, and they just got a job and they want to change, they feel like they can do something better in life or become an entrepreneur and so on, and they can't get through to their parents, I would be the type to just leave and prove it to them myself without even communicating with them, just disappear from them, and then eventually come back and look, I'm no longer working a 9 to 5. I'm at home. Here's some money. Yeah, I'm here to support you, my family. I bought a house. That's just my opinion, but I'm not saying for anyone else to go that road. But it's really hard when it comes to Islander parents. It's really hard because they're so strict on all the things that you say at church, and getting the 9 to 5 and all that. There are a few out there that do understand this kind of thing, like owning your own business online or so on. But there are also some that just won't budge. There's definitely some that definitely won't budge. And you're going to get that. You're always going to get that. But, like I said, unless everyone's different. Unless you're good at communicating with your parents, then obviously they might give in and go, look, we'll support you no matter what you do.
Do you think then one of the key components is to find, if you are to make that decision and you have that driving passion, that to make sure that you find that whatever you do, you have a community of like-minded people around you to support you, so that if these people don't, that you have something that people know that if they take that leap, they are not alone? Do you think that is an important component?
Oh, definitely. That's pretty big. That's a big part of it. And this is also where it comes back to hanging around with the wrong crowd. Like for me, right, I was hanging around with the wrong crowd. And for me, hanging around with that crowd, I was always influenced in doing that kind of stuff. So that's why I don't regret with what I've done, because I've also learned that side of it. And then I flipped the script and went, man, if I hang myself around with the right people, just imagine what I'm capable of, right?
I love it.
Yeah, definitely a big part of it, finding yourself a community or even some friends that are down the same road as you. That's so important, because if you think about it too, it's almost like common sense. Man, that's so true. Whatever situation you put yourself in, that's exactly what you're going to feel like doing, like whether all your friends are into sports, you got no choice but to talk about sports. Go to the footy games or whatever, but that's exactly what it is. I think one of the hardest parts for an entrepreneur is just getting the family involved in it, and getting them to understand what you're doing as well, getting their support behind it. But that's the same thing. You communicate with them good enough for them to understand exactly what you're doing, then they'll support you 100%.
And I think it comes down to, I don't know about you, but I can only speak for myself, that every time I've made a decision that maybe other people don't understand, and they're like, oh, what are you doing that? And they're trying to talk you out of it. To always understand deep down that person is not trying to hurt you or doesn't believe in you, that person is trying to protect you, that they love you. And the reason that they are telling you, oh, no, you shouldn't do that, is because they're coming from a perspective that that's all they know, and that their eyes aren't open to seeing what you have already visioned. And so if we think about it that way, then we don't get angry at them, and we don't feel like they're trying to shut our dreams and goals down. That it's just that we have to teach them. And I loved what you just said then, where you said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do it, I'm going to prove it, and then I'm going to come back and show you. And you've given some really key advice there in the aspect that, find a new crowd of people, find people who are going to where you need to be. And there's a statement that Les Brown says, which I absolutely love. And he says, if you're the smartest person in the room of the friends you know, you need to get new friends. Because we can't grow and learn if we don't. If we don't have other people. and we connect the same with the same people. So I love that you've brought that up, because I'm sure there's people watching out there today who will be going, oh, my friends are always negative, or my friends are all up to doing things they shouldn't be doing, and I don't actually want to do it, but they're my friends. So and that's that fear of, well, I'll lose my friends. So I suppose our message both of us want to say to them from that aspect is, it's time to find new friends and find people who are going the direction that your heart actually wants to go.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, if they're your true friends, they'll support whatever decision you make.
Correct.
Yeah.
I did have another question, but I actually think we've covered a lot of that. One of the things that I like to ask every single one of my guests is, if you had to pick a song, a book, an activity that helps you be resilient within times of challenge, what would that be?
The song I would say September. It's not a motivation song, but it is a song that pushes my frequency up higher.
It's your vibration.
My vibration up higher. And every time I listen to it, straight away I click off whatever mood I was into, and then I'm back into whatever I was supposed to be doing.
Okay, I'm going to have to put that on and check it out. I do know the song, but I haven't thought of it from that perspective, so I'm going to have to try it.
Yeah, Earth, Wind and Fire, September,
Any book or activity that does it, or is it purely, I know that you're really connected to music. Is music your number one go-to?
Music
challenge?
Music is definitely my number one go-to. Whether it is I'm stressing out or trying to calm down at the end of the day, whatever it is, music's the one that puts me in the right mood. Even if it's some instrumental with no singing and all that, and I'm just sitting there meditating and calms me down by the end of the day before I go to sleep, it's music, definitely music.
Yeah, me too. I think we all have our own devices that will help us keep connected, and I encourage anyone that's listening to go out and find. There's so many free things on YouTube on motivation or meditations or all sorts of different things, but to have something that's just for you. You know what? I really want to thank you. You've spent you shared some really powerful things with us today, and I know that they're going to impact other people. The purpose of this series is to highlight how resilient you have to be to live the life that you want. And I kind of believe that inside each and every one of us, we have what I call the resilient factor. And all we need to do is actually tap into it and harness it, and we will be able to live the life that we desire. So that's our episode of Coffee Chats with Impact today. I hope it uplifted you and inspired you and made you hungry to live a life that you deserve. I will look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you so much, man.